Hello and good afternoon, feeders. Today is October 17th, 2021, and my name is DJ. Joining me today, as always, we have Feeder Finance Patrick. Pat, if you'd like to say hello to everybody.
Hi guys.
Hey, so, starting off as usual, we'll briefly go through the TLDR, and then we'll talk about some more important things. So, 8 AutoFarming vaults have been launched this last week, and we are very much on track to get close to 150 released by the end of October. Our roadmap is set to be released by the end of October, and our team is making great progress on smart contract testing, and we are working on the APIs and front ends for this. Next, we've been looking a lot more into going cross-chain. This will be a very vital step going forward in Feeder Finance's growth. We've recently made contact with another chains management team and the top AMM on their platform, and they are happy to have us and support us where they can. CoinTelegraph article should be published in the next few days with additional marketing coming with it, and 2 new How to DeFi articles published, stablecoins and non-stablecoins, so be sure to read up on those. So, starting off our weekly audio, let's get right into the nitty-gritty. So, we released 8 AutoFarming vaults over this past week, Pat. That is phenomenal, considering we just launched this product type not too long ago. Were there any noteworthy farms here that you wanted to talk about, or why did you include these 8 new farms?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have a list, of basically all the pancakes as farms,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the priority for us is to get pretty much all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't even get to 150 where we'd include all of them. So we'll probably, after we're done with pancake, we'll need to look into other platforms we can aggregate as well. But for these in particular, the reason they're coming out first is I guess number one is the APYs are pretty nice. They're also relatively big projects.
Mm-hmm.
Axie, for instance, they just raised a lot of money, I think last week.
Mm-hmm.
And Ramp is also, I know a community member is also a fan of that. We actually tried to get in touch with them. They didn't quite, well, the founder didn't really reply. But that was that. C98, we're also in contact with them. We're trying to integrate their wallet
Mm-hmm.
big time. Chesson's a big deal on BSC as well, and Qubit. Obviously, we aggregated their vaults through Bunny,
Yep.
and it's a Bunny's project, and so all of these are relatively big projects, and we figured, some of you guys might have some of these tokens, and want to farm and earn some APYs on our platform as well. So should be good additions.
Very cool. So it looks like CoinTelegraph is supposed to be publishing with us in the next few days. This has been quite the debacle to get them to get the published article out. So it looks like they've compensated us fairly, though, with some additional marketing pieces here. Do you want to talk a bit about those?
Yeah, sure. It was a struggle. A couple follow-ups a week until we're finally there. But I've been working hard to get those finally to the finish line. I think we have, and it'll be out in the next couple of days.
Awesome.
Maybe sooner. We'll see. Hint, hint. And with that, we'll. So what's going to happen is every new article goes out to the front page, but then it gets pushed down, right, with other publications. But for us, it will be. Well, they say it's pinned on the homepage for 24 hours. I'm hoping it is on that featured, sort of section at the top. They are also at the moment asking management. I haven't gotten the feedback. I don't think I will until it's released because of how their responsiveness. But what they're saying is they'll ask management to get the article promoted on TG, which usually costs money. Everything costs money.
Of
But
course.
they'll try to get that through for free. And it will also be posted on Facebook for that. It's they said it's likely early November before the Facebook post will be posted because there's a lot of backlog there and we need to queue up. And I think it's actually not a bad thing because then it's sort of almost like a remarketing for us to get it out, again. And we get that newsletter banner to the email subscribers and a 7-day widget promotion to that article as well. So so the article is going to a lot of places.
Money well spent, I'd say.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. High hopes, at least. And I'm not sure. I mean, there are a couple of formats for CoinTelegraph, publications. And the one we chose was the explained article, which is, not. I think the one that we were perhaps used to for someone who's not into reading up on CoinTelegraph is the purely shill type article where they go just not dig down into the details much, but just basically overview of a sponsor of the sponsored article. For us, the explain article is more about explaining in a Q&A format that explains why an aggregator is needed, why it's important, how useful it is, and then basically a soft shell at the end. The guy that does this well is DeFi, and you guys should look into it. And so I think it's going to be useful as well, and the focus really for us is to get new users, right? Because that's the most important thing long term anyway. So I think this article should do it.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think this will be great for exposing new possible investors into the Feeder Finance ecosystem. So great job there. It looks like this week we also released 2 new articles on stablecoins and non-stablecoins. These are going to be the first of 2 articles in many that'll be helping to explain DeFi concepts for new users and investors. Could you talk a bit about search engine optimization and what that means and why it's so important for us to be able to create this type of content?
Sure. I mean, Jimmy's background is actually, he built his career, and he never really worked for anyone. His entire basically wealth and business was built on top of building sites using SEO. So he's not a fan of paying for things that are short term, and I think we've seen that with our strategy where we're sort of trying to make everything organic because we've had a lot of success, Jimmy in particular, with doing things organically. And at one time he was owner of one of the most visited sites globally. It was in top 100.
Wow.
Hundreds of millions of page views. So, and we did that purely on creating content, and I helped him with that as well. A couple of years back. So we understand how important SEO is, and SEO is basically, in a nutshell, you create content that is sort of specific to keywords that are searched. Trying to integrate, or not integrate, but trying to use words that are searched and trying to build a lot of content that is unique and basically not plagiarize. Well, for instance, if you copy and paste things from the internet and paste it on your website, and if you do that, the Google algos will know. So writing your own content from new and making it unique, but also focus on using keywords and all of that, ranks highly for Google. And we've seen that, for instance, if you were to search, staking on Qubit, for instance, we're on the first page.
Oh my God.
If you were to search, bridging from ADA to BSC, we're number 1. So basically, anybody trying to bridge ADA to BSC and searching that on Google, we're basically the top spot.
Oh wow.
And that tells you how the site was built on the back end. Like, we spent a lot of time doing things on the back end that it doesn't really show in plain sight. But the whole site was built super SEO friendly, and a lot of probably 99% of the crypto dApps are not built for SEO, but we are, because, and SEO takes time, because time in existence is one of the values that goes into the algo of Google, because the longer the content, the more original, and the longer it exists, gives it more sort of value to the algo.
Mm-hmm.
And by value, I mean you rank higher.
Right.
And so it's good for us to start, creating content, because I think we're at the stage where we're ready to start creating content. It was always the plan, but you can't do everything at once. And now I think it's time to start, creating these. And Jimmy's also planning to put all of these content sections into the site as to more visible onto the site, so it's easier for people to jump from these content if they find us through the search into the platform, so they're exposed to that as well. And surprisingly, over 15% of our new users to the platform are already coming from searches.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's free, right? And number one, that's free, and that's super sustainable, super long term, and it's only going to get better, because the longer these things exist, the better it is for the algo, and the higher ranking we get in general for all types of keywords. So this is one of the things we're doing. One of the marketing we're doing that is something longer term.
Okay. Yeah. No, lots of great stuff there. I think for our users that are still struggling to grasp and understand what SEO means and how it's implemented, think like Twitter, how you use certain hashtags to bump up your post. By being able to optimize our articles and our web pages, we're able to increase the amount of users that are directed to our site via search engines. So yeah, this is all great news all around, especially seeing 15% of our new users come from platform searches, or just searches on a search engine. That's amazing, and it's only going to get better from here. So great job, team. I think that is exactly the step we need to be moving in. Moving on to our next section, it appears that we'll be updating our roadmap by the end of October. So there's been a lot of internal discussion going on about how we're going to move forward. Would you like to add a bit of color for our users without, giving away any of the juicy details?
Sure. We spent probably a week just looking through things, discussing, and I think, and we concluded that we're probably at this point where we need to grow our addressable market, because BSC is super competitive,
Right.
and the ecosystem itself is tilted towards projects with VCs, projects with connections and anchors, and all of those things, and the things that unfortunately we lack. But however, I think the whole crypto culture and the crypto revolution was always about building something useful, building something that's unique, and trying to make life better for everyone, and sharing in its success with communities. And I think BASE's a place that still needs improvement on that front, and we're sort of looking out into other chains where we can both expand the market, but also find an environment where things are more crypto friendly in terms of the crypto culture. And we did all of that during that week. So we went out to different places, and this is the network that we're going, or the blockchain that we're going, is not the only place that's super friendly to us.
Right.
We've had a couple of discussions with some of the chains, and it's a calculation that's technology, how easy and fast things are will be able to implement. And because we didn't want to have you guys wait 2 months just to go cross chain and stuff like that, so we So a lot of things played into that equation, and we've made a choice. And Jimmy has already, started testing and building smart contracts. And so we're now sort of trying to have Raphael and Pandit sort of work on the front end, the APIs and stuff like that. But also, this is not the only thing that we're going to be doing for the next couple of months. As you know, we have a lot of upgrades and features that we're planning to launch, and so now we're trying to sort of put it all together from a timing perspective and resource allocation perspective. And that's why we're delaying the roadmap, because we need some time for Jimmy and to figure things out in terms of how much resource we need to allocate to the whole cross-chain thing, and how fast can we implement that, and once we know that, then we can sort of, these are the other things we need to do. When can we do it? What do we need? And we're planning to do a lot of things for the next 2.5 months or so until year end. And so the roadmap coming out in October would tell you guys what we're planning, and there's a lot of things that will come as well. And so I'm excited for that, and I hope you guys are excited.
I, for one, am excited. It's because I'm an insider and I know things, but I think the community will be just as excited when it gets revealed. So there's a lot of good...
and
go for it.
I'm sorry. Before I forget, because I wrote that down in the written format, and I didn't want people that are audio only to miss this. But in our outreach to this particular chain, we've come in contact with the actual team behind the blockchain, and we basically told them what we do, what we're trying to do, where we are in terms of progress and our stage, and they're super excited about it. And they're basically offering any support they can give from dev perspective and from exposure perspective. And they actually, without us asking, they went out to connect us with the top AMM on the blockchain. And so we're now both in contact with the team behind the chain and the top AMM, which is when they're also super supportive of us and excited that we're joining their ecosystem. So I think this is from exposure and from a launch perspective, I think this is much more than we could have hoped for.
Oh, absolutely. I'm right there with you. Yeah, so lots of good news, guys. One last thing I'd like to ask you about before we let our users go. A Bitcoin ETF was approved earlier this week. What do you think this means for the broader crypto ecosystem? And obviously, not financial advice. I'm just going to preface that here. So give us your thoughts, Pat.
Well, it's really a good step forward. The only and I really mean it. It's really good. The only disappointment I have from this news is that it's a futures based ETF.
I know.
Right. I mean, it's a bit. We're almost there, because I mean, when it's futures, there will be actual physical in a sense, crypto physical Bitcoin being bought to support this, because when you have arbitrageurs and hedge funds and stuff like that doing these hedges, basically, how futures are trading, they're always trading either at a premium or a discount, and there's some arbitrage that you can do by owning the physical part, and so there will be some physical buying or selling going on the Bitcoin, Bitcoin actual blockchain buying and selling, but it would have been much cooler if it was actual Bitcoin ETF where Bitcoin is taken custody of into this particular ETF, because then it's when I'm thinking about the investor's perspective and how their exposure to Bitcoin, if they were to buy the physical Bitcoin or the crypto Bitcoin versus when they're buying these ETFs, the returns will be different. And by different, I mean buying the ETF will be less,
right?
Because of how futures contracts work, and that's the downside. And I put that downside out first. and now I'm gonna, basically the upside is if you can do this, it means we're a step closer to the actual thing, which is a Bitcoin ETF that is physical. I hate the word physical because it's all code, but to make that distinction between futures contracts and Bitcoin. So we're one step closer. This is great, and if it's a hit, that means the hedge funds and all these guys will definitely buy Bitcoin to make these trades to support their arbitrage strategy. So this is really really good news.
So when you say non-physical Bitcoin, are you referring to the fact that the Bitcoin futures is considered a form of an SPV?
I mean, I haven't looked into how they're sort of structured, but I think basically what it is they're probably matching price. They're settling in price, so cash settlement at the end when the contracts run out, which is typically how these things work. What that means is, you have a buyer and a seller of these futures contract, and if you're a seller of Bitcoin at 60K, or a buyer at 60K, and the futures contract ran out, you cash settle it at the end of the contract. So the buyer and the seller, whoever makes the money gets the money, whoever loses the money, pays up.
Right.
So technically there isn't really anything going on in the physical market, which means there isn't anything being traded on the blockchain. However, the good news is that you could be arbitraging these things whereby you buy the futures at a discount, which they usually are. There, if the market is super bullish, for instance, the futures would probably trade at a premium to the physical market.
Right.
Right, and you could be basically shorting the futures and buying the physical, or vice versa. When there's a discount in the futures market, there is usually a discount unless the market is super bullish, because there's time value involved in owning futures. But if you're a hedge fund, you could be buying the futures at a discount and then hedging it, or basically arbitraging that time value by selling short the physical market, for instance. So what that means is the Bitcoin ETF itself in isolation doesn't, at least the way I understood it, doesn't impact the demand and supply on the blockchain, but it will create the demand and supply indirectly into the market, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Two more questions for you. One, how big of a predicator for market sentiment do you believe the premium or discount, as you put it, on a Bitcoin futures contract, how big of a predicator of market sentiment do you think that is?
Well, the way I see it is it will depend on how popular, because it's always these feedback loops, right? Where it's sort of circular. If the ETF is super popular among the hedge funders and the investors, then it will perhaps also impact the physical market when there's a premium or discount. And if there is a big discount, and there could be some physical selling to hedge that. But if it's if the ETF is small, then the impact will be small to the physical market. So it remains to be seen how popular this thing is when it starts trading, and we hope it's popular, because if it is, then if it proves a success, then it makes the case for the SEC, for instance, to look into more of these ETFs coming online and start to finally approve them.
So which do you think we'll see first? An actual Bitcoin ETF, non-futures, or some other futures ETF, like an Ethereum futures? Which do you think will come out first?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I think the reason this, and I haven't seen, because I haven't read up on this, maybe this has been pointed out by people, but I think the reason this is easier to approve is because there isn't really a risk of these things of custodial, because you don't have to store Bitcoin. This is cash settled.
Right.
And so if that's the hurdle, I don't know if that is the hurdle, but if that's the hurdle, then I guess an Ethereum ETF, future-based ETF might be coming out sooner. And whatever the case, if it's proof of success, and by success I mean if it generates a lot of fees for Wall Street, then SEC will move really quickly to approve these things, because all in all, I still think the Wall Street still controls what's going on there, both at the SEC and the Fed and all that stuff. And I think a lot of people in crypto do believe that as well. So if it makes a lot of money for Wall Street, these things are coming out.
Oh, absolutely. Wall Street loves their money.
Yeah.
So, I think we're at the end of our weekly here, Pat. Is there any final thoughts that you have for our viewers at home?
No, I think that's what but looking forward to you guys, enjoying the new vaults, and there's more coming. So, forward to seeing you guys on the chat.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what additional vaults we release in this coming week, and I can't wait for you guys to see which chain we're crossing over into. Lots of good things ahead, Pat. I can't wait. Well, that's all we have for you this week, folks. Be sure to like, subscribe, and all that other fun jazz. And Pat and I will be back again next week with another weekly audio update to keep you guys informed. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the Telegram and the Discord. Thanks for talking, Pat.
Thanks.
No problem. Bye, guys.